Hey, thanks for stopping by Minnesota Black Robe Regiment here on YouTube. Make sure that you're subscribed and that you're checking out the bell icon down below so that you're getting notifications. Like, comment, and share. 101 years ago this month, June of 1920, three young black men
you are over the target. You are
were
authorized to fire at will.
attacked, beaten, humiliated, accused of rape, and then hung from a pole in Duluth, Minnesota. Well, these three murder victims were Elias Clayton, Elmer Jackson, and Isaac McGee. I am in absolute disgust at the history that such a crime as this could ever have happened in the state of Minnesota. I despise ethnic hatred. I hate ethnic hatred. I hate anybody who promotes and propagates such ideological wickedness and evil. As a Christian, I believe in one human race. I don't believe in a white race, a black race, an Asian race, a First Nations race. I believe in one people, humanity. Scientifically, we have ethnicities. Anthropologically, we have ethnicities. I am, as I've said in other videos, I am predominantly German and Scandinavian, Norse, Germanic, if you will. So basically what that means is I get pissed off really easy and I never know what to do about it. Slight humor as I record. And as I've said also recently in a video, I don't know what I have in common culturally with Italian Americans or European Italians or the Spanish or the Portuguese, which are European. I have very little in common with the French. I have very little in common with the Poles or the Dutch. If I were going to rely strictly on a cultural ethnos, I have very, very little in common with anybody of European descent because those cultures are varied and just in diverse. Just as a person whose family hails from Uganda has a distinctly different cultural background as a person whose family hails from Rwanda or Chad. And I, quite frankly, I despise people who hate people just for the country that they live in, but especially I despise hatred of any group or any individual for nothing more than the color of their skin or hatred in general. I hate evil. I hate people who work evil, period. Now, I define evil, differently than the vast majority of people today. The vast majority of people today define evil in respect to cultural norms. In other words, right now, abortion isn't considered evil by the majority of people when you talk about it. They say things like, well, I would personally never get, well, I obviously would never personally get an abortion, but you would hear people say, I'm not personally for abortion. I would never personally get an abortion, but I would never judge somebody who does. See, now you go back, 45, 50 years ago, and the story would have been different. There was much judgment, and rightly so, against abortion. So that's a cultural shift in our norms. So I have no problem stating that I hate certain types of evil. And so this act in Duluth was evil. I hate it. And I hate those who did it. There was no justification for it. But why is this important to this conversation? Why is this important to me today? And here's where I'm going to go. Yesterday, Governor Walz announced the appointment of a fine man named Shawn Pearson to serve in the 6th Judicial District Court of Minnesota. He'll specifically be serving in Duluth. Now, the irony is not lost on me that Mr. Pearson's last name is the same as mine. Exact same spelling. Somewhere in Mr. Pearson's history, he's related to a Swede, or he is Swedish at some level, either through bloodline, through genetics, or through adoption. Somewhere Mr. Pearson is related to me, if his name is Swedish in its origins, in its etymological roots. So, but why is it important for me to bring up Mr. Pearson? And why talk about Governor Walz? Well, here's part of the reason. So, Mr. Pearson is black. I don't care that he's black, in the sense of it doesn't have any bearing on how I think about him. I know, and that's the new cultural, new societal sin that, like, now you can't say that you don't see color. You have to say you do see color when you approach anybody. Like, we have to look at everybody through the lens of color today, through their skin pigmentation. I am pasty white and in yard work tan. I don't know how you would approach. I don't know how you would judge me on that one. I go from pasty white to burnt to tan, so that's what I do. You guys are gonna have to forgive me. I'm dealing with seasonal weather changes causing my throat and stuff to dry out very, very fast. So I'm drinking a lot of coffee this morning to keep going. But anyway, Mr. Pearson he's black. And okay, I don't care. But our governor cares. And here's what Governor Walz said in his announcement of appointing Shawn Pearson to the 6th District Court. And I quote, "The diversity of our legal system should match the diversity of the communities it represents." Catch that? The diversity of our legal system should match the diversity of the communities it represents. Shawn Pearson will make an exceptional district court judge and serve his community well. It's an honor to appoint him to serve Duluth in St. Louis County. Now, I realize that the Twitter sphere, the tweeters, only allow you a certain number of characters. to get your message out. But why is that the message? Why did our esteemed commissar of the People's State of Marxisota feel that it was necessary to tweet out his announcement of Shawn Pearson that as being appointed to a judge in the 6th District Court? Why did the governor feel it necessary to say the diversity of our legal system should match the diversity of the communities it represents? So, and here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna say I have no doubts that Shawn Pearson is incredibly qualified as a judge, but it has nothing to do with diversity. If he's qualified as a judge, if he's qualified because of his legal work, it should have nothing to do with his ethnicity. This is literally an insult to Shawn Pearson. Like, your work is great, Mr. Pearson, but if you weren't black, I wouldn't have appointed you. What? I mean, that's literally what that tweet is saying. And in one respect, there's a lot of things going on in that tweet. But in that respect, what Governor Walz is saying to Shawn Pearson is, I'm only appointing, I have got to learn spatial distancing. And I have to stop talking with my hands. What the governor is telling this man is, no matter what your qualifications are, chiefly I'm appointing you to be judge in the 6th District Court because of your ethnicity, because you're black. Now, Mr. Pearson served with the Clayton Jackson McGee Memorial, and we've talked about the travesty of what happened, the evil, the moral wickedness, the turpitude of what took place in June of 1920 in Duluth at the murder of these 3 men for nothing more than the fact that they were black men accused of a crime by white people. I am not going to argue that. That is disgusting and it is evil. And I am glad that we memorialized that moment in the same way that I believe we should memorialize the concentration camps in Europe. We need to be reminded of the evil that could permeate the hearts of humanity. I think that we should memorialize the atrocities of Idi Amin and Pol Pot. I think we should memorialize the people who were murdered by Che Guevara, the communist Marxist revolutionary executioner, a man who murdered blacks and other Hispanics and homosexuals. We should memorialize those people, not to highlight Che Guevara. I mean, now people walk around with pictures of Che Guevara on their shirt, you know, claiming, basically aligning themselves with a murderous Marxist bastard, because that's okay. But we need to memorialize the evils that are done by every tyrant and every evil mob to some degree. We should be memorializing those things. I have no problem with this memorial in Duluth. I weep that this ever happened. But this Clayton Jackson McGee Memorial and their board that Shawn Pearson was part of, they have in their statement about who we are, our mission is to foster racial justice and promote healing and reconciliation in our community. Tell me something, Governor Walz. Tell me something, all of you sycophants of Governor Walz. Did Governor Walz's tweet promote racial healing, racial justice, and did it promote healing and reconciliation in our communities? Does it promote healing and reconciliation in our communities? Like, is it racial justice to appoint a man to an office because the diversity of the criminal justice system needs to reflect the community? Is that racial justice? Or is that a move by the governor to say that, well, we have to have judges and law enforcement officers and court officials and whatever it might be, all of these people, like, so if you live in a community that's 98% black, 98% of your justice system employees, judges, all the way down to the clerk, should they be predominantly black? What if it's 65% white, 35% black, and 5% other races? How do you do that? Do you relocate people to make sure that you have the right percentage of people in every district? If the 3rd district or the 1st district court of Minnesota is predominantly white, let's say it's 98% white, should only white judges be appointed? Should only white prosecutors be appointed? How do you make that determination? See, that doesn't promote racial justice, and it certainly doesn't promote healing and reconciliation. What it does is it says, and that's the cognitive disconnect, it says you're only qualified to fill this position if you meet our need to match the percentages. Like, let's read that. Let's read that one more time. The diversity of our legal system should match the diversity of the communities it represents. Why? Can a white judge only adjudicate a case for a white subject? Can a black judge be the only one that could properly adjudicate a court case, a criminal proceeding, a civil proceeding, a family law proceeding for a black subject? What about people of mixed ethnicities? What if you have a person whose mom was white and his dad was black, or his mom was black and his dad was white? What if you have somebody like that? Who adjudicates that case? What are you saying, Governor Walz? Let's just get this out there. I have no doubts that Shawn Pearson is incredibly qualified for this job. He's got a law degree. He will probably blow me out of the water in a debate. I've no doubt about it. I bet he's sharper than a tack, sharper than a straight razor. No doubts in my mind about that. But what does his ethnicity have to do with his qualification to sit in Duluth? What you have effectively done, Governor Walz, is you have painted everybody into a corner where now we have to look at Shawn Pearson and we have to see his ethnicity, and we have to assume that he only got appointed because of what you said. He met a need for you, Governor Walz. And I personally think this is insulting to Shawn Pearson. Now, I can't tell Shawn Pearson how he should respond to this. Clearly, I bet he's very happy to get this appointment, and I applaud him. But coming from an organization, this memorial organization in Duluth, that's about promoting racial justice and healing and reconciliation in the community, that it's antithetical to the organization that he once was part of, to have him selected and then have tweeted out that the diversity of the justice system needs to reflect the diversity in the community, because it makes people focus on the very thing that we should not be focusing on, and that's the ethnicity. I don't care. If I get charged with a heinous crime, I don't want to know what the judge's ethnicity is. I want to know if the judge is neutral, nonpartisan, and just. Period. That's it. white, black, native, Asian, Hispanic, any mix thereof. I want to know that they are just, that they are nonpartisan, and that I will be adjudicated fairly in their courtroom. And I think, Governor Walz, you need to explain yourself when you say this. Does North Minneapolis, should they have, like, who should be in the justice system there? Who should it be? Who should it be? Do we start making hiring decisions based on a certain percentage? And if it needs to be reflective, does it need to be an exact reflection? 3% of the people in the justice system need to be black or white or what? What is it? What is it, Governor Walz? And what is it for all of you who applaud the way he handles these things? Where do you draw the line? And I, as a Minnesotan, Shawn Pearson, I want to apologize to you. I don't know you, sir. I don't know you. I'm sorry that the governor demeaned your appointment to the 6th District Court by making it about you being a reflection of the diversity of the community. Because I believe you're smarter than that. I believe you're better than that. I want to believe that you're going to walk into that 6th District Court where you sit on the bench in St. Louis County, in Duluth. And I believe that when you sit down at that bench, you are going to put on the blinders of justice. And instead of looking at the person in front of you and seeing, oh, this is a young black man that committed a crime, or this is a young white man, or a young white woman, or a native woman, or a native man, I believe you're going to look at the case and you are going to say, what are the facts of the case? And how do we adjudicate this? And how do I remain nonpartisan and neutral as a judge in my pursuit of justice? I believe that's what you'll do. But now your entire tenure, your entire stint on this bench has been tainted because Governor Walz saw fit to make it about your ethnicity and not your qualifications in a tweet that thousands and thousands and thousands of Minnesota saw and have responded to. This will forever raise questions about whether or not what you're doing in that courtroom is a just pursuit, or is it a just pursuit with a modifier? Gender justice, racial justice, social justice has no place in the courts. None. And trying to undo the damage that was done years ago by flipping the script and making it about something else doesn't fix it. It doesn't make it justice. It just does a different form of damage. And so once again, Your Honor, Judge Pearson, I'm sorry that it had to be turned into an insulting, well, he's qualified because he's black. I believe you're better than that. And to my regular viewers, you know why I'm saying these things. This is just another example of how Marxist ideology, how social Marxism, how Gramscian theory, Gramscian Marxism have permeated at every level in our state to a point that we cannot make any decisions without first looking at the cultural implications and whether or not we're doing cultural good or racial justice. Justice is no longer blind. Justice is now strictly focused on ethnicity. The system is going to self-destruct. Until next time, Sic Semper, Tyrannus.